military parade in northeast Turkey is intended as a show of strength and resolve in a fractious region as much as a celebration of Turkish national pride. But political conditions, although given most of the attention, were not the only conditions leading to such a circuitous route.
There were also physical problems of the terrain, a number of rivers and so forth that crossed through that part of Turkey, which would have made the pipeline more difficult. So it was a combination of the politics and the physical features of the terrain that caused the Turkish government to decide that they wanted to, in effect, build the pipeline in a big loop that avoided that area where the fighting had been, and which was physically quite difficult to build a pipeline anyway. Well, once the oil gets to Ceyhan in Turkey, it will be put on board, pumped on board super tankers. Some of the oil will go to Western Europe, some of the oil may go to the United States, some of it may go as far afield as Japan and China. Once you get to Ceyhan, then it's available to the world market, wherever that market is at the time.
With so much of the pipeline going through or near areas in turmoil, guaranteeing the pipeline's security will pose tremendous difficulties. With a projected 1 million barrels of oil being pumped daily, there will be plenty of temptation among numerous groups to tap into the pipeline or perhaps sabotage it. The Supsa pipeline through Georgia has been the subject of numerous tappings and thefts, despite assurances from GIOC officials.
We are near the Baku-Supsa pipeline. We are standing now just on the right on the way of the route. So the pipeline crosses this territory. It's a Gori district, and we can see now marker. It's a KP marker, so-called KP marker, which records the KP kilometers from the one border to another. This territory must be secured from any invasion, from big transport, for big trucks and etc. Yeah. I'm a security man during several years, and I had absolutely no incident like this of drilling. Yeah. What do you mean? So something like this was happening approximately 8-9 years before on the old pipe.
The Baku to Supsa pipeline has been in operation now for about 4 years, and so far it's operated normally during that period of time. There have been cases where people have attempted, not in terms of sabotaging the pipeline, but have attempted to steal part of the oil that is in the pipeline by putting on what's called a hot tap on the pipeline, siphoning oil off, and then using that oil, selling it illegally on the black market.
Given all the problems, how can it be protected? That's where the governments of the three countries the pipeline traverses come in. Under the terms of the production sharing agreement, they are responsible for protecting the pipeline. No numbers are specified, but each government is required to provide enough troops to defend not only the pipeline itself, but also the people working on it and the oil that goes through it. In particular, they are charged with protecting the pipeline and personnel from civil war, sabotage, terrorism, organized crime, or other destructive events.
There are clearly concerns about sabotage. The history of pipelines in other volatile parts of the world, particularly Colombia, where the Cano Limon pipeline is blown up quite regularly by guerrillas. The BTC pipeline will be buried along its entire route, so getting access to the pipeline will not be particularly easy. The pipeline will also be patrolled by unarmed security personnel, mainly on horseback and in vehicles, daily along the entire route. There will obviously always be aerial reconnaissance of some sort as well. But if somebody wants to destroy a pipeline or blow up a pipeline, obviously if they have the means to do so and the will to do so, people might try.
Pipeline security will be a tall order, and there are concerns that the militarization of large parts of the pipeline will infringe on the civil rights of the local residents. How do you conduct pipeline security without infringing on people's rights? The volatility of the region make answering this question a strategic as well as a moral imperative.
Many critics of the project have in fact made those kind of claims that the pipeline will become a militarized corridor in which the possibility of human rights violations of the peoples living along the corridor would take place. There's quite a bit of activity to try to ensure that that doesn't happen. It won't be a sense that there'll be tanks rolling up and down the pipeline route, but there will be security forces stationed along the pipeline route to protect it.
There are particular concerns about Turkey, where security has been put in the hands of the Turkish Jandarma. The Jandarma were implicated in some of the worst human rights abuses during the conflict with the Kurds. So only those whose hands can be shown to be relatively clean are being hired.
Hristiyan Ortodoks olan Moldova'daki Gagavuzlar.
All the same, there are serious fears that the Kurds will find the increased military presence in their backyard highly provocative, and that the fragile peace that has held for several years will be fractured.
Burada görevimiz Türkiye Cumhuriyeti'nin güvenliği, bekası, güvenliğini sağlamak. Türk ordusunun şerefli bir subayı olarak Türkiye Cumhuriyeti'ni yaşatmak birinci vazifemiz ve görevimizdir. Divriğe komanda bölüğüne gelsinler. Bizi tanısınlar. Tanımadan karar vermesinler.
One way of promoting human rights has been putting all three countries' security forces through a 4-week training course run by a Swiss nonprofit group, Equity International. The course, which began in the spring of 2004, teaches soldiers how they should set up vehicle checkpoints, detain people, use their weapons, and numerous other everyday security skills. If security for the BTC pipeline can be administered in a way that doesn't escalate or inflame local and regional tensions, then it could set a tremendous precedent for other oil or gas-rich countries in Central Asia that until now have been unable to get their resources to paying customers.
Over the long term, the success, aside from whether it's commercial success or not, and that really depends on oil prices, it will be a success if the people along the route and the people in those countries really see some benefits, in particularly Azerbaijan and Georgia, but also in northeast Turkey, in areas where development has not really taken place along the same path as elsewhere in Turkey. You're dealing with lots of poor people, and if those people see benefits, then I think BTC will be a success.
Of course, it's possible that the pipeline will do more than simply not aggravate the various regional conflicts. In the best-case scenario, it will actually help stabilize the region by pumping money into a traditionally underfunded and underdeveloped part of the world.
Much of the Western oil reserves in the United States, for example, or in the North Sea off Norway and the UK, are now mature, and much of those oil fields are in decline. Again, much of the oil that is in the world is restricted in terms of access by Western companies. For example, most of the Middle Eastern countries have their own national oil companies, and the members of OPEC actually restrict production to maintain prices. So the irony is the cheapest and most plentiful oil in the world, which is in the Middle East, stays in the ground. And that forces Western companies to go further and further afield into countries and regions which are perilous or inherently unstable to access more expensive and scarcer reserves. That trend is unlikely to change in the next few years. So I think over the next 10 years, 15 years, we'll see more pipelines going through more remote parts of the world, and yes, more unstable parts of the world.
For additional information regarding this program or the series Beyond the Border, visit www.beyondtheborder.org.